The Haunted Texas series is taking over Talk About the Hill Country. We will be here every weekday morning from October 21st to October 31st. If you miss a story, hear it on Halloween night starting at 6 p.m. The broadcast is being carried on KNAF AM 910 and KFAN 107.9 Texas Rebel Radio. Our sponsor is the Mason County Historical Society. These eerie, sometimes gory, and always fascinating haunted Texas tales are being brought to us by historians and educators from the Texas Historical Commission, the Texian Blog, and the Texas Center at Schreiner University. These Texas tales are true to life and death, so listener discretion is advised. Now settle back and enjoy HC Broadcasting's presentation of Haunted Texas.
Howdy, y'all. Ben the Texian here. I work at the Texas Center at Schreiner University, but Texas isn't only my job, it's my hobby, which makes it the perfect job for me. One of my hobbies, wrapped up in my love of Texas, is collecting Texas folklore. And some of that folklore, of course, are ghost stories. And since we're in the midst of spooky season, I'll be sharing one of those stories with y'all today. Now, this ghost story you might call the classic Texas ghost story, and it's been told and retold since the 1830s. It's not only a good yarn, but what I think makes it even better is the fact that it's all absolutely true. And every single one of them, when asked about the truth of the matter, all swore that everything happened just as I'm about to tell you. And these folks were pillars of the community who weren't much given to inventing tall tales. So, take that for what it's worth. Now, sit back and close your eyes, unless you're driving, and listen to the hair-raising tale of Josiah Wilbarger. The scene, Woods Fort, near present-day LaGrange in Fayette County, Texas. The date, 1837 or 38, somewhere in there. The time, just after dinner, when all the guests of Wood's Tavern slid up to the fire with full bellies to chat, swap tales, and pass the horn as they digested their venison and beans. One young man, a newcomer to the Republic of Texas, turned to his neighbor and looked over the man's strange headgear in the low glow of the flickering fire. The young man was so intrigued by the man's look, he broke his southern etiquette and asked the somber man, "Excuse me, sir, but why are you wearing a sock on your head?" "Young man," came the reply, "it's because I was scalped by Indians." This simple exchange proved the introduction of two Texas legends, a young William, a.k.a. Bigfoot Wallace, who went on to become a famed Indian fighter, scout, and Texas Ranger, and Josiah Wilbarger, early Texas colonist and the subject of this hair-raising tale, a tale he began to unfold to the enwrapped young Wallace in the low glow of the fire, puffing his pipe as he wove his own frontier version of Arabian Nights. Once upon a time in Texas, Austin was not the live music/hipster capital of the world. Instead, this South by Wild West was just another wild patch of land on the Colorado, hanging from the frayed edges of Comancheria. In July of 1832, Reuben Hornsby and his family took up residence on the east bank of a bend in the Colorado in present-day East Austin, to this day known as Hornsby's Bend. One day, Josiah Wilbarger rode up from his home near Bastrop to visit his friend Reuben and take a look around the country. Some other young men who had just recently arrived in the area joined him. In the sweltering heat of an August day, Wilbarger and the young explorers decided to ride out even further to survey some of the land north of the Colorado. As the four men rested their horses and ate lunch, An entire Comanche war party of almost 50 swooped down upon them, screaming war cries and letting arrows fly. 2 were immediately killed, and 2 others rode away. Wilbarger took arrows in both legs. A musket ball hit him from behind, tore through the middle of his neck, and sailed out the left side of his chin. He collapsed, paralyzed. He was also terrifyingly still conscious, unable to move or speak. He watched as the Comanche cut the throats of his 2 fallen companions. He watched as they scalped them. He watched as the warriors moved toward him, a prisoner in his own body. He felt the Comanche strip him naked, slice a circle around the top of his head, and yank the skin and hair from his body with a pop that roared in his ears, as he later described it, like distant thunder. Wilbarger passed out. Seeing this, the Comanches believed him dead, and so left him stranded, naked, scalpless, and drenched in his own blood. Eventually, the paralysis wore off and Wilbarger awoke. It was now late afternoon, in Texas, in August. The poor man's naked body baked horribly under the sun. A great thirst and hunger gnawed at his vitals, but the bleeding from his neck wounds seemed to have stopped. He crawled over to a nearby creek and drank deep. He dug up snails crawling through the mud and ate their squishy bodies, giving him enough protein to stave off his hunger pains for now. He also realized that flies had supped at his wounds while he slept and had laid their eggs. The maggots now writhed and munched and gnawed at his head. The only clothing left to him was a sock, so he tore it off his foot, already swollen up from the arrow wound in his leg, and pulled it over his scalp to keep the parasites off. Josiah tried to make the trip back to Hornsby's Bend, 6 miles distant, crawling away from the bodies of his friends, but he hadn't the strength and collapsed beneath an oak tree. Night fell cold. The hungry howling of coyotes echoed around him. Fireflies danced with the glow of predatory eyes in the moonlight. The brightness of the stars seemed to mock his agony. As he lay shivering in pain and cold, he suddenly became aware of a woman slowly walking towards him out of the darkness. As she moved closer, he began to uncontrollably shake, for it was the image of his sister, Margaret Clifton. But that was impossible. She was back in Missouri, 700 miles away. And through a fog of agony, he heard her say, "Brother Josiah, you are too weak to go by yourself. Remain here, and friends will come back to take care of you before the setting of the sun." She then walked away in the direction of Reuben Hornsby's home. At that moment, Sarah Hornsby shook her husband Reuben awake and told him that she had seen Wilbarger in a dream, naked, scalped, and bloody, but alive. Reuben told her to go back to sleep. She had the same dream again. She woke Reuben once more and more forcefully this time told him, "I know that Wilbarger is not dead." She would not be put to bed a second time. She had coffee and breakfast ready by daybreak and sent the bewildered and pretty annoyed men out to find what they believed to be the dead body of Josiah Wilbarger. And they found him. The rescuers were shocked that Wilbarger was still alive with all of his wounds. The rescuers took the poor man back to Hornsby's Bend, where he was nursed back from the brink of death by Mrs. Hornsby, bathing him, feeding him, and coating his scalp wound in bear grease. he was gingerly taken back to his home near Bastrop to continue recuperating. Miraculously, the scalp Josiah made a full recovery. He lived another 11 years, but always had to wear a greased sock type of cap over the area of skull that had been laid bare by the Comanche blade. It never fully healed. According to his brother, the bone eventually became diseased and gradually flaked away, exposing his brain. And that is the condition in which young Bigfoot Wallace found Josiah Wilbarger that night at Woods Fort. Some weeks after the attack, Josiah Wilbarger learned that his beloved sister Margaret, who he had seen coming to his rescue as he lay wounded, had died the day before the Comanche attack, back in Missouri, and she was buried the very day her brother lost his scalp. And so ends the true story of a man saved by the determination and devotion of two women who broke through the bounds of physics to save his life. As Will Shakespeare once wrote, there are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of in philosophy. Pleasant dreams.
Attention Hill Country residents! Join the Mason County Historical Society for our annual meeting on November 22nd at 6 p.m. in the Stribley Room of the Mason Library. This year, we're thrilled to welcome geologist Brian Hunt from UT Austin, who will take us on a fascinating journey through the geology of Mason County. Discover how our landscape evolved from ancient seas to the era of dinosaurs and even mammoths. Bring your rock samples for identification and enjoy refreshments as we delve into our local history together. Everyone's welcome, no membership required. For more information, visit us on Facebook or at masonmuseums.org. Let's find out together what's under our feet. Don't miss this enriching experience with your community. This has been a special presentation by HC Broadcasting, our Haunted Texas series for the Halloween season. First, thank you to our presenters, Ben Freiberg of the Texian Blog and the Texas Center at Schreiner University, and Shannon Smith of the Texas Historical Commission and Fort Martin Scott. A huge shout out to our sponsor, the Mason County Historical Society. If you love local Texas history, be sure to participate in the Mason County Historical Society's annual meeting on November 22nd at 6. It'll be held at the Stribling Room in the Mason County Library. Find out what's under your feet, geologically speaking. Check out their website at masonsmuseum.org. Want to get on the regular calendar for Talk About the Hill Country? Call 830-997-2197, email knafnews@gmail.com, mail to P.O. Box 311 in Fredericksburg, or stop by the studio at 304 East San Antonio Street. Hope you enjoyed your Haunted Texas.